The forest outside La Push is quiet, the air thick with the scent of pine and rain. Jacob Black stands alone, his bare feet sinking into the damp earth. His body is that of a man, but his mind is still that of the boy who dreamed of cars and freedom and a future that felt like his own. He closes his eyes, and for a moment, he can almost forget the weight of his fur, the strength of his muscles, the responsibility of his pack. But then he hears it, a soft cry, a tiny voice that tugs at his heartstrings with an invisible force. He opens his eyes, and his gaze locks onto the baby in Bella's arms. In dismay, his imprint. In that moment, Jacob Black's life is no longer his own. The imprint has spoken, and he is bound to a child who will one day be his mate. To the outside world, this is a fairy tale ending, a supernatural solution to Jacob's unrequited love. But to Jacob, it is an iron cage, a prison of obligation that robs him of his autonomy, his dreams, and his right to choose his own path. The concept of imprinting is one of the most controversial elements of the Twilight saga. On the surface, it is presented as a magical, inevitable bond between two souls, a force of nature that cannot be denied. But when we dig deeper, we see that imprinting is something far more insidious. It is a violation of free will, a biological and spiritual mandate that strips individuals of their autonomy and reduces their choices to a single, unavoidable destiny. Philosophers have debated the nature of free will for centuries, with thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre arguing that existence precedes essence, meaning that we define ourselves through our choices and actions, not through our nature or our circumstances. Sartre rejected the idea of fate or destiny, arguing that we are always free to choose, even in the face of overwhelming pressure. Jacob's imprinting directly contradicts this idea. He has no choice in who he bonds with. He has no say in the nature of that bond. He is simply told, by a force beyond his control, that Renesmee is his one, and he must devote his life to her. Quick, this is not love. Well, this is obligation. This is the death of Jacob's autonomy. Psychologists who study attachment theory can shed light on the problematic nature of Jacob's imprinting. Attachment theory, developed by John Bowlby, describes the deep emotional bonds that form between individuals, particularly between parents and children. These bonds are built over time, through consistent care, trust, and mutual respect. Jacob's imprinting is the opposite of this. It is an instant, involuntary bond that is not based on any meaningful interaction or shared experience. It is a bond that reduces Jacob to a caregiver, a protector, a servant, rather than an equal partner. This type of attachment is not healthy. It is codependent, one-sided, and deeply damaging to Jacob's sense of self. He is no longer a person with his own desires, goals, and dreams. He is a satellite orbiting Renesmee, his entire existence defined by his role as her protector and future mate. The ethical implications of imprinting are equally troubling. Ethicists argue that moral behavior is predicated on the ability to make choices, to act freely in accordance with one's values. When individuals are stripped of their ability to choose, they are no longer fully moral agents. Jacob's imprinting strips him of this agency. He cannot choose to love someone else. He cannot choose to pursue his own dreams. He cannot choose to live a life that is not centered on Renesmee. This raises a disturbing question. Can Jacob be held responsible for his actions if he is not truly free to choose them? The answer, according to most ethicists, is no. Jacob is a victim of his own biology, a prisoner of a supernatural force that has decided his fate for him. This is not a romantic bond. This is a form of psychological and spiritual slavery. The fact that Renesmee is a baby when Jacob imprints on her adds another layer of complexity and discomfort to the bond. Jacob is 16 years old when Renesmee is born. He is a teenager, still grappling with his own identity and his place in the world. Renesmee is an infant, helpless and dependent on others for her survival. The idea of a 16-year-old bonding with a baby, with the knowledge that she will one day be his romantic partner, is deeply unsettling. It raises questions about the nature of love and consent. Can a baby consent to a bond that will define her entire life? Can a teenager truly understand the implications of bonding with a child who will not reach maturity for decades? The answer to both questions is no. Jacob's imprinting on Renesmee is not just a violation of his autonomy. It is a violation of hers. She is a child, and she deserves the right to grow up, to explore her own identity, and to choose her own partner when she is old enough to do so. Jacob's imprinting robs her of that right, just as it robs him of his. Jacob's imprinting also halts his personal growth in its tracks. Before imprinting, Jacob was a young man in flux. He was angry, yes, but he was also growing. He was learning to navigate his role as a werewolf, to lead his pack, to process his grief over Bella's rejection. He was starting to imagine a future for himself, one that was not defined by his past or his destiny. But when he imprints on Renesmee, that growth stops. He is no longer Jacob Black, the werewolf, the leader, the friend. He is Jacob Black, Renesmee's protector. His entire identity becomes wrapped up in his role as her guardian, leaving no room for personal development or self-discovery. Psychologists refer to this as identity foreclosure, a term coined by James Marcia to describe a state of identity development where individuals commit to an identity without exploring other options. Jacob has committed to his identity as Renesmee's imprint, not because he chose it, but because he had no other choice. This foreclosure leaves him stuck, unable to grow or evolve beyond his role. The contrast between Jacob's imprinting and Bella's choice to become a vampire is stark. Bella chose her destiny. She chose to become a vampire, to be with Edward, to embrace the supernatural world. Her choice was informed, voluntary, and based on her own desires and values. Jacob's imprinting was none of these things. It was involuntary, uninformed, and based on a force beyond his control. Bella's choice is a celebration of autonomy. Jacob's imprinting is a denial of it. This contrast highlights one of the core flaws in the Twilight Saga's portrayal of Jacob. He is never given the same agency as Bella or Edward. He is always a victim of his circumstances, a pawn in a larger supernatural game. Jacob's own feelings about the imprinting are complex and conflicted. On the one hand, he feels a deep, undeniable bond with Renesmee. He cannot help but love her, protect her, and devote himself to her. On the other hand, he is aware of the loss of his autonomy. He knows that he will never be able to pursue his own dreams, to love someone else, to live a life that is truly his own. This internal conflict is a source of immense pain for Jacob. He is torn between his biological imperative to protect Renesmee and his human desire for freedom and self-determination. This conflict is a classic example of approach avoidance conflict in psychology, where individuals are drawn to a goal, loving and protecting Renesmee, while simultaneously repelled by it, losing their autonomy and personal dreams. This type of conflict is incredibly stressful and can lead to anxiety, depression, and a sense of helplessness. The philosophical concept of authenticity is also relevant here. Authenticity, as defined by existentialist philosophers like Martin Heidegger, involves being true to oneself, living in accordance with one's own values and beliefs, rather than conforming to external pressures or expectations. Jacob's imprinting makes authenticity impossible for him. He cannot be true to himself because he no longer knows who himself is. He is defined by his bond to Renesmee, not by his own values, beliefs, or desires. He is living a life that is not his own, and this inauthenticity is a source of profound suffering for him. Despite all of this, the Twilight Saga frames Jacob's imprinting as a happy ending. He finds his one. He is able to move on from Bella and he gets to be part of the Cullen family. But this happy ending is an illusion. Jacob has not found true love. He has found an obligation. He has not moved on from Bella. He has been forced to redirect his love and devotion to someone else. He has not found peace. He has found acceptance of a fate he cannot change. This is not a happy ending. He's a tragedy. Jacob Black deserved the right to choose his own path, to love who he wanted to love, to live a life that was truly his own. Instead, he was trapped in the iron cage of the imprint, a prisoner of destiny for all eternity. As we continue to explore Jacob's story, we will see how this imprinting shapes his role as Alpha, his relationship with his pack and the Cullens, and his ability to find any sense of peace or fulfillment. The imprint is not just a supernatural bond. It is a symbol of everything Jacob has lost: his autonomy, his dreams, his identity. It is the true cost of his destiny, a cost that no one, not even Jacob himself, fully understands. Jacob Black may be a hero, a protector, an alpha, but he is also a victim of a force that robbed him of his freedom, his choice, and his right to be himself.